Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Guacamelee 2 and Happy New Year everyone. Got a lot of plans this year and they do not involve being absent for more than half of it like it was last year more or less. In the last part we got the last pieces of the ancient evil Triforce thing I can't remember the name of right now for some reason and found out that Jaguar's a traitor and we escaped from prison. Kind of a loaded episode as you can tell. And now we need to head back to the Council of White Chivos to talk with them. But first, hey! Juan, do my sockets deceive me? Juan, honey, look, it's you! This is so surreal. I had forgotten what a loving person looks like. You've grown older. Look, Chileto, aging. Life's most underappreciated gift. How wonderful. Hi, Lupita. Hey, Juan. My old buddies. Look at this dynamic duo. Brings back old memories. Hi, Tostada. You haven't visited us in a while. Welcome back. I hope the evil skeletons outside didn't give you too much trouble. What do you think of our home, Juan? When I was alive, I thought we might be having a busy life here wrangling kids. But it's been nice this way too, right, honey? But tell me about you. Do you have a family? Let me bring out some snacks. I want to hear more about your kids. I'm sure they're all right, Juan. They sound very sweet. And your Lupita loves you very much, I can tell. One more limonade? How about another mezcalito? Thanks for all your hospitality, Lupita, but we really should get going. Oh, right. The end of the Mexiverse and all. Well, thanks for the visit. Juan, if you're anything like my Juan, and you are, don't dwell on all this drama once it's over, okay? Take stock of everything you have waiting for you at home. It sounds pretty special. And Tostada, after you save the world, come back for dinner. I'll make tamales. My favorite. See you then, girl. It's really amazing to see you alive again, Juan. Don't give up, alright? I know you can do this. Give the kids a big hug for me. If you ever get a chance, come back and visit us with your Lupita. We can go on a double date. Now that sounds adorable. But before we move on, I didn't just go in there for that really nice cutscene. You can come in here and use the chicken slide to get into this thing. Well, didn't think I'd see you again this soon, Pally. The name's Houlihan, Clux Houlihan. This is my secret room. There's a big score at the end of this, Johnny. If you're the kind of guy who doesn't mind doing dirty jobs. So everyone, why don't you grab the stash and we call it even? Wow, this is a really long U-pipe. And I'd like to note, I mentioned something back in Guacamelee 1 where I thought a puzzle around here was supposed to be chicken-shaped. I think I was just thinking of that. Because, yeah, that's a chicken-shaped pipe, which doesn't seem very efficient plumbing-wise, if you ask me, but I'm not a plumber, so what do I know? And also, fun little behind-the-scenes fact, this footage here is old. As in, this was recorded when the last episode was recorded, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to include in that part or not yet. Instead, we're going to be transitioning to the new footage as of around now. And I should note, because this was a bit of a longer jump for me at least between recordings for this part, I'm going to be making a lot of dumb mistakes early on in this video. And yeah. Now the good thing about the black voids that started spouting up all over the world last part is, as I mentioned I believe back then, you can use them against enemies to act essentially as water or lava. And due to that, you can just throw enemies into them to one-shot them, and that is very useful when it comes to getting rid of enemies very quickly. Because since we are going through a lot of previous areas at this point, there's not going to be a lot of required lucha rooms. At least not until the latter third or so of the part, I'd say. Mind you, I want to say at least 10 to 12 minutes of this part alone is focused on talking to people in the towns. Because, for reasons, we end up both in the town here in Los Manglares, which the name of which is completely escaping me at the moment, and even heading back to Villa Chula. Now, something that can be a bit scary about the Black Voids is that because they're everywhere, you think your movement is very limited. But honestly, it's not. They place the Voids very smartly, in that there's never one that outright gets in your way of getting an item, at least. They're always placed in a way where you can easily get around them. Sometimes it might make them things a bit harder, or at least scarier, but no item is ever impossible to get in this game. Now, if I had done things properly, I actually could have gotten that right then, because there's a money chest up there. But the thing is, there are 2 Chicken Illuminati Golden Chicken dungeons I have not yet done as of this point that I could have. One of which I showed off over near Zatabe's place. But then there's another one that I need to do the one over Zatabe's place. And I have been able to access them both ever since I got the chicken bounce ability where you bounce off like bumpers. I just haven't. Don't worry, we get to it. This part, even. Without a doubt, this is going to be the most backtrack-heavy video in the series, barring the eventual cleanup episode, though, because I do have to go all over the place. Oh, silly Kyle. You can't get the thing up here yet. You need the next ability before you can do that. And something I do like about this point in the game, though, is while, yeah, the voids don't make things impossible, they do make them harder and do require you to use more of your abilities to get around even familiar areas. And I like that a lot, because what a lot of other games have done is a couple of things, admittedly. Either they would have made it so that the voids completely block off certain pathways from being accessible, forcing you to take other routes, or just disallowing you from ever accessing the area again, a la Disc 4s of Final Fantasies 8 and 9, not having certain towns in them, just because plot reasons to save on disk space for FMVs. Made it absurdly difficult to get through things, or so specific that it's just not worth the pathway, or they would have been completely pointless in the long run, have only been there for aesthetics. And while don't get me wrong, there's a good amount of that last one in this game, just because they want to have voids in as many rooms as possible, even if you can't touch them. There's at least an attempt to integrate them into the level design better than a lot of other products would have done. Alright, we're about to reach the town though, so let's see what's going on with the townsfolk. Luchador, what are you doing here? It's dangerous. Go home and hide. Oh, your home isn't in this timeline. Eesh, awkward. Mister, I'm scared. What's going on? Is the huge, enormous, real scary giant skeleton in danger too? Please save him, mister. You say nothing different. That's one thing I've always found a bit odd. The mentors never change what they say whatsoever. I would at least figure that they may have written like an extra line or two of dialogue just to influence events after the first time you meet them, but at the same time, I could, I guess, see reasons for not doing that. Yes, please, I will take that. That's one of my favorite abilities in the game. Oh no, no, this won't do. I have laundry to hang today. Go away, clouds, go, shoot. These big blobs of darkness. Are they dangerous to us? I mean, we're already dead, so... There's nothing different in here. So I guess it's the apocalypse. Please save us! I'm getting to it, I'm getting to it. What's happening? Are we in danger? Should we hide? I tell you, ever since all those white Chivos showed up, it's been nothing but problems. Is this all they're doing? They better clean up this mess. I'm holding out to hope that the Chicken Illuminati will save us from whatever this is. Yep, any second now, they'll swoop in and clear this all up. Any second now. Sometimes I miss my old boss, Kalaka. Sure, he was evil. Sure, he kidnapped El Presidente's daughter. Sure, he had a creepy mustache. But did he deserve to die? Probably. Anyway, looks like we have some things to catch up on. Head on up inside. Float like a butterfly, slide like a chicken. Poyo slide time. This is an interesting bunch of flame face combos. Because technically it's the last ability you get in the game that plays into any straight-up combos. Yeah, there's a couple more abilities we can get, but none of them lead into combos for Flame Face. In fact, once we finish this bit here, we're going to be led right into his last combo trainings. And they're not required in any way. Mind you, none of these are, really. But they definitely bring the most complicated combos to the table. Now you got some of the basics down. Come talk to me again sometime if you want to get extracurricular. I know you made progress as a luchador, but I want to see your wild side. Show me your best Poyo moves. the last couple of combos he gives you are precise, to say the least. They require, I can't even remember this guy's name, Poncho, I want to say, to be in very specific positions, to knock in very specific ways. I have been here in one of my playthroughs for upwards of 15 minutes. It is that specific, especially with how long some of these combos get. And there's the weird balance you have to take, where you have to perfectly balance mashing the button when it comes to the, at least standard X combos, to pacing them out so that you don't end up screwing up the combo in total. That especially comes into play here during the last Juan bunch. Because if you mess it up, these are fairly long combos. Though, given this game's sense of humor, I'm surprised there's never a combo where it reaches quite literally all across the screen and maybe even wraps off to another side. Because then that would be perfect just to have Flameface go, alright, maybe that's a little bit too much, game. I'm a little sad that this is all Flameface really got in the game, though. He's one of my favorite characters in the first game, just from the absurdity angle of it all. But in this game, he only really is just this. I think he might get some extra lines if you play as him from like one of the DLC, but that's a big think there, because I don't think they ever make your characters talk when you're playing as them. I think characters just get different dialogue depending on who you're playing as. Yeah, the last two combos in specific are ones you kind of want to take your time on, just because it's a lot of button pressing. Holy giblets! You, hombre, are one badass luchador. Even my cousin Grillby would be proud. Until next game, I'm gonna go drink myself into oblivion. Yes, please come back in Guacamelee 3 when that ever happens. Please let that happen, because I love Guacamelee. Now I'll tell you everything I know. I'm just gonna kick back and let the sweet void take me. Hopefully I'll be around long enough to collect the insurance money on my fightatoriums. Alright, let's go talk with the counts. So, there's very few here. Good effort, everyone. Enjoy the apocalypse. This is truly the darkest timeline. Juan, we tried, but I'm afraid it's too late. It's better to go home and spend the remaining hours with your loved ones. Salvador got all the relics. The end has begun. Well, I'm not leaving. I'm not done with this fight. Wait, Chivo 24. Salvador is already in the Snake Temple. It's hopeless. He will... I only know one way to get to the Snake Temple. Through hell itself. Oh, cool. We've been there before. Nice place. No time to waste. All right. Hey, if you guys are really not giving up, feel free to take the treasures left by the way, Chivo, from the Forgetful timeline. Just below me here. All right, I'll take very little money, but I'll still take it. Hope you make good use of Forgetful Chivo's treasures. Hurry to the Temple of the Snake, Luchador. Stop Salvador's ritual. Juan, what if there's no way to stop this? What if we go through all this and fail? And what if... You're right. You always know the right thing to say. And now for potentially the biggest amount of backtracking the storyline has you do, potentially between both games. We need to head all the way back to that door, I think from last part before. I think it was last part, actually. Where we went through the little Street Fighter reference and got through hell itself. And that's quite a trek, and in some other games I'd cut it out entirely, but given this game's status as trying to be Metroid, there's a lot of items I'm going to be grabbing along the way, and even some new routes I'm going to be opening up. To put it straight, we actually don't get to that place until past the 30-minute mark, because we're here for a lot of items. This is one of my least favorite lucha rooms in the game, just because I hate being over spikes like this. Thankfully, if you combine like the rooster uppercut or anything with a double jump, you can get up here pretty easily, but it's still really stressful for me. You can tell a lot about a person's game taste by what kinds of instant death they fear in a game most. Like, for some people, it's drowning. They probably played Sonic growing up and got through Labyrinth Zone, or Chemical Plant to a lesser degree, but still to a similar effect. They're a Mega Man fan like me if they really fear any kind of spiked object like that. Bottomless pits if they're Castlevania fan, or any variation of bottomless pits at least, because knockback, so on and so forth. If I see or am over spikes, I start to sweat a little bit. RPG fans really got the best end of that stick, because barring like death spells, there's not many cases of instant death, barring like a timer running out. Action RPGs notwithstanding, of course. And because this is going to be a lot of me backtracking, getting items, and messing up while trying to get the items, this is probably going to be the part of the LP, barring the eventual cleanup episode, with the most amount of jump cutting. I actually can't remember if I already said this episode, and I've only been doing this for 15 minutes. That's not a good sign of how my New Year's Eve is going. With that said, we are going to be jump cutting still. And while I'm going to be jump cutting from place to place along the route, like right now we're heading to Villachula, for the most part, I'm not cutting out like major like routes. It's usually just from one place to another that I'm going to be talking about, so on and so forth. I'll make sure you guys are up to date on what's happening. Also, it's around this point in the game we're going to start running out of upgrades to get and money to use to get them. Not that you can ever permanently run out of money, but funds are going to be a little bit lower. For instance, on the way to Villachula, I ended up going one way accidentally, but unlocked the Mega Headbutt. It's at this point you can easily grind for things like that because you have the Headbutt so much, you have the Chicken Slide. Nothing's going to get in your way when it comes to getting upgrades from here on, really. No, I'm honestly not scared. I've lived a good life, blah, blah, blah. Wow, I was reading this dialogue really quickly. Also, there's this room where we used a lot of the chicken upgrades. We can finally use our Chicken Slide to get to the last thing here. And this is probably the hardest thing to do in Villachula. Just because the Chicken Slide, it takes a bit to get used to using it, as I think I mentioned last part, because yeah, you're invincible during it, yeah, you can slide over gaps, but the thing that always takes me a while to remember is that the moment you start the slide, you're going to finish the slide no matter what's in your pathway. That includes if the platform beneath you completely vanishes through a dimension swap. And I don't know why, that just always throws me off. I used to complain about that nothing ever exciting happens in this town. I take it all back. I wish we could go back to the quiet days. Maybe I'll just spend the apocalypse here at the restaurant. I want to go out doing what I love most, eating an absurd amount of nachos. You know what? I respect the hell out of that. Hurry up, Miguel. These oilers aren't going to take themselves. Usually I have a lovely view of Los Manglares from here, but it's growing a lot less scenic since the growing void showed up. This looming darkness gives me the heebie-jeebies. I should probably see a doctor about that. They have doctors in the world of the dead? Why? No one's dying. This talk of the looming apocalypse has me feeling pretty nervous. But then I just think of sweet, skeletal puppies and everything's alright in the world. Dude, I'm really digging these ominous dark splotches of death. Could be the inspiration for my next painting. I'll call it Existential Death, Part 17. I was hosting some visitors in town yesterday, then they started getting weird on me. These violent cockfights have violent hens, said one, and then another told me to go rest in some sheep in seamless lumber. And I looked confused, they just rode off and told me they were out to find the maze. They didn't even grow any. I'll be real, I understand a lot of references. I don't get that one if it is one. I'm glad Pachito's got his guitar back. I hope it brings him peace. I'm gonna suplex these scary clouds right out of the sky. Just you watch. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't just wrestle away all my problems. Unless... Nope, I don't have time for this apocalyptic void of doom business. I have chores to do, a family to feed, and the latest season of The Young and Wrestlers to catch up on. I may be a little kid, but I'm smart enough to tell that my family's panicking about something. It's high fructose corn syrup, isn't it? I don't know if I have the heart to tell my little sister that this very well may be the end of our family flower shop, where I'm going to get the chance to decide if we don't want to take over. I hope Zatabe is taking notice of the darkness closing in. I'm not sure if us dead folks are going to be affected, but Zatabe is very much alive. She's definitely in danger. Now that I think about it, wasn't it a plot line in Coco where if no one remembers you, you disappear? If the world of the living goes and the world of the dead doesn't just by the void, that still means you're screwed, guys. I loved Coco. Such a good movie. Esteban, I'll never get to really tell him how I feel. Why didn't I confess when I had the chance? Now it's too late. Global voiding? If our world is dying and I'm going to get torn apart by timeline rifts, then why am I so comfortable right now, smart guy? Oh, you're one of those people. Fun. Don't get on Twitter. All this end of the world stuff that everyone's freaking out about is just a hoax. Really, it's true. The guy on TV said so. Hashtag fake void news. Can you tell when this game came out, by the way? Oh, man. We're still in the middle of that shit. Via Chula at this point, it really is just dialogue, because what's the only item I think I haven't gotten here, from my memory at least, is this one. That I showed off being able to get early on, but I haven't been back here to get it yet, where I have to use all the wrestling moves on this thing. I think there's 2 more items. One of them requires an ability I don't have yet. Also, I'm only now realizing, why does this dude have a toilet upper deck on his head? Okay. But I'll take that health up. Oh, Luchador, I'm terrified. Will we survive this? Will my baby be okay? What if he's born with a tail and all the kids go to school call him Tailboy and he can't get into a good college? I'm so worried. I mean, good luck with that, lady. Well, it's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? We live simple lives of quiet desperation on this pale azul dot. A mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Okay, you're getting too real for me, man. Something I do like about the town sequences here, though, is not only does the dialogue change at a good enough pace that it really gives you a feel of how the world's feeling about events, but something I especially love about the dialogue here is that, especially in the world of the living, people aren't giving up hope. And that's something I think people need to take to heart in reality. Because we do that very often. We just kind of give up. I just realized there's another item I didn't get. Damn it, I saw it on the map too. Shit. Curse you past me. How did you not see that? This is the end, isn't it? I suppose everyone's time's come at some point. I just didn't think my time would come so soon. Because of tonight's party. Too bad. I was looking forward to whiling it out with everyone. Shame about the weather. We were going to throw another fiesta tonight, but due to those dark clouds in the sky, we've canceled it. I've got 2 words for you, Luchador. Duck and cover. Just hole up in a doorway or under a desk and you'll be fine. Ha! History propaganda jokes. Which, honestly, now that I look back, that's one of the scariest pieces of propaganda I can think of, because that would do shit. And now I'm actually going to use the Olmec, because I want to teleport to the one over in the Badlands. I could walk over this direction, and honestly, it's probably the better option if you want to just get to the goal. But there's a lot of items over here that I want to grab, including one of the 2 golden chicken statues that I've missed at this point. The Badlands really is the place where you're probably going to be spending the longest amount of time when it comes to completion, though, barring anything you grab along the way, because this is just a very large area with a lot to get in it. Though that is something that I think about, they'll give Guacamelee 2 over Guacamelee 1. I think it does better at using your abilities in the long run, because Guacamelee 1, as great as it is, many of the abilities, while they could be used in a lot of areas, felt neglected compared to the main 4 in the game in the long run. Like, the wall run didn't get much use outside of required stuff. I can't remember the name of the wall run, what you use it horizontally that you get at the mountain area towards endgame. A lot of quite a couple of the moves in the game just felt relatively neglected. Guacamelee 2, every move has a lot more use in the long run. And part of that could be because they give you new abilities at a better pace, for one, and there's just more game here to begin with, so they could design more ways to use the various abilities, even if there are more abilities. It's just one of the weird little things about sequel development and how they can refine things. Though this particular chicken maze can die in a fire to me. It's not hard. I just am an impatient dude sometimes, and therefore I mess up puzzles like this a lot. That is one thing I really like about these golden chicken areas, though. Because every single room is coated in the green spikes and not the red, you never die and you're never forced to go back to a checkpoint, barring maybe some lava in like 2 rooms in each. And that really reinforces the whole learning platforming sequences thing with platformers. Not that Guacamelee 1 didn't do that, I just think Guacamelee 2 does a better job in the long run because it's just a better designed game in terms of stage design in my eyes. Because Guacamelee 1 had some great level design, but it was very limited. It's limited here too, but in a different way, I guess is the way I want to put it. Hey, do you ever do a pollo shot and think, why can't I just do another one? Well, guess what? You can! Don't feel bad. It took me a while to think of it too. And now we can do 2 pollo shots in the air. However, you already could do that sort of by alternating directions. Now you could do 2 in either direction. And I think you could chain them together for a total of 4. This is ironically one of my favorite power-ups in the game just because it allows you to get so much airtime between that and the glide. And if you know me, you know I love vertical mixed with horizontal coverage when it comes to my abilities. It's one of the reasons I love the screw attack and space jump combo so much in Metroid. I can just go so far and take care of so much. It just feels so nice. And I don't know what it is, but the chicken controls in this game feel like they've been tightened up compared to the first game. Mind you, I feel like they were probably doing that anyway just because you're controlling the chicken for a longer amount of time in Guacamelee 2 over the first one. But they just really make it feel a lot more fluid. And that says a lot, because Guacamelee 1 already had fairly tight controls. Beyond maybe some stickiness when you're spamming buttons. Something I do like about the chicken areas as well is that it really forces you to actually do combat with your chicken instead of just using human Juan for all that and leaving the chicken to suffer. And that's really good, especially for upgrading the chicken's abilities, because you just have a way to do it more easily. In fact, hey, there's the last purchase unlocked. Technically. There's a couple more purchases I have to unlock just by purchasing other abilities in the trees, but that's the last one that's tied to like doing any amount of thing a certain amount of times. With that said, we are done here, so let's get the hell out of this particular chicken maze and head off towards our next destination, which is our next destination, now that I think about it. We're now heading towards the door to hell down to the south of us on the map, but I'm going to be picking up a few things along the way before jump cutting elsewhere. The one power-up I think I should have gotten earlier in the game, and I think you should as well, is it's the 4th skill technically if you count from top left to bottom right as 1, 2, 3, 4, as on a Flame Faces tree, which increases the gold multiplier at 25, 50, and I want to say 75 or 100 hits. That, you just should really get that just to make money a lot easier on you in the long run. Again, like Guacamelee 1, money's not that big of a problem in this game. There's enough enemies that you never really need to grind it out. But the sooner you get yourself upgraded, the better it's going to feel. You know what I mean? Also, hey, we haven't seen this room in a while. Last we saw that evil chicken and the giant cactus were talking to us from this billboard. Blackboard. It's not a billboard at all, Kyle. Come on. Well, that says a lot about the generation I grew up in. My elementary school didn't really have blackboards. We had whiteboards only. You know, it's the thing nowadays, but like, if I talk to my brother, they'd probably be going like, yeah, the blackboard made an awful sound when they scratched on it. And don't get me wrong, they do make awful sounds when you scratch them. But like, I didn't have that experience in school growing up. Either way, here we are at our actual destination towards the door to hell. But now I actually want to do a different backtrack over to this golden chicken statue here on the bottom right. On the way, though, you might notice there is a single room that has a, over here actually by the save point, has a KO headbutt block we can break, and we want to take this route just because I haven't shown it off yet. Okay, that's enough slow-mos. Something I'm glad they don't do with those enemies is that I'm glad the effects don't stack. Because if you could have your speed probably quartered at that rate, you probably wouldn't stand much chance in the long run. Another minor area I think Guacamelee 2 does better than Guacamelee 1 is that it has more rooms like this. Not the loot room itself, but the room that acts as a shortcut between two more major areas. Guacamelee 1 had a couple of those, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, its level design was a lot more solid, I suppose is the way I want to phrase it, in that there weren't as many pathways between it, as many holes in it that you could use to travel to other areas. Here, they leave a lot more areas to make backtracking just that bit simpler, and I appreciate that. The Mexivers have started to tear. My poor Albresia babies. What a cruel, cruel world. We'll take care of it, Tatabe, don't worry. But now, finally, we can take care of this Chicken Illuminati area down here. For probably one of my least favorite abilities in the game, but we'll talk about that more when we get to it. With that said, whenever it comes to dodging as the chicken when you have to glide, or dodging in midair in particular, I guess in general, really, now that I think about it, and even as human Juan, you really should use the triggers to do that rather than the right analog stick like I tend to, because you don't have to reach across the controller as much. And even though I can do some mean claw hands while I'm playing games to do some ridiculous bullshit, even though I'm not a Monster Hunter player, in this game it's a bit awkward because you actually actively just have to tap the analog stick rather than like hold it a certain direction. Though that does kind of remind me of another game I've been playing recently, because for Christmas, I got Norman Reedus and His Amazing Fetus, the game Death Stranding. I'm only about 11 missions into it. I'm digging it. But what the absolute hell, Kojima, am I playing? I'm digging what he's putting down, but it confuses the hell out of me. Don't sweat it, kid. Everyone falls the first time. And now we can use the Poyo fans. Essentially, if you've ever seen one of these little flowers in the world before, they'll now send up gusts of wind that you can hold the jump button down to glide up. This, I feel about. Control-wise, it's fine, though it can be a bit precise as to when you should let go and hold the button, just because you accelerate at such a ridiculous rate. But I feel like they could have made this a more interesting ability of some sort. The closest thing I can think of is that maybe it could have been like... no, not even that would work, because I was thinking maybe it could be like the little Shine Spark cannons in Metroid Zero Mission that sends more false Samus at a ridiculous velocity horizontally, or vertically rather. But no, not even that would work quite well for this game, because designing around that would be very anti this game's methodology. I don't know, this ability always just felt off to me. Maybe if it was something we were taught throughout the game, like as a standard level design gimmick, it would have been cool for me. But this feels semi-underwhelming. But again, that's just me. It doesn't help that some of the optional stuff in the game makes you really hate these fans a lot. You remember when the first instant death projectiles back in like part 2 showed up, and I was like, you're gonna learn to hate those things. You're really gonna learn to hate these things, especially in tandem with instant death objects. But we'll get there. Might take 2 or 3 more parts, but we will get there. With that said, we now have that, so we can come up here and get these 3 items. And at this point, I think I'm just going to jump cut back to the door to hell, because frankly, I have nothing else to do on the way back there. There are some items I could maybe go on my way to grab, but I'm just going to get us back to here. So let's just go to hell. Juan, my man, how have you seen? The voids are all over the place now. It's becoming more and more dangerous to wander around. I've been reading up on them, and it seems they may be caused by a weakening of the barriers between timelines. That's bad news, right? I'm going to take my boat out for a spin to get back to reading. I'll keep you posted if I learn anything helpful. Thank you, big head dude I can't remember the name of from the Town and Super Turbo Championship Edition. You're back. Luchador, you know, I thought about it a lot, and I think I should actually thank you for what you did. With my dad's car a smoking wreck, I had no choice but to scrape together for one of my own, and really earn it. It took a lot of hard work, but now I'm so proud to call this one mine. My sweet little Lime. Look at her over there. The belle of the ball. So I guess I learned a valuable lesson. Thank you. I am so sorry, dude, for what's about to happen. Because I gotta mess this car the absolute hell up. I'm sorry. No! Fine, I'll just walk everywhere. Well, probably if you save the Mexiverse, you'll still be a good person overall. I'm sorry, Tostada. I hate cars. And that's not a joke. I don't like driving. I just don't. Now, if you thought our stay in Infernio the first time around was a bit short-lived, don't worry. We're here for more than the rest of the part. Sorry, Mr. Diabolito is not available right now. He had to rush out to deal with a disturbance. Would you like to make an appointment? Sure. Sure thing. I have the following dates. Thursday the 20th and Friday the 13th. You know, the latter is really tempting, but I'm going to say Thursday. Thank you. I will let him know. And now we have come full circle since last part. I meant it when I said this is probably the biggest backtrack the game has you do, because the game is, for the most part, fairly straightforward with what they want you to go through. Like, there's not much bullshit in your way, barring, like, the power-ups, and even then that's usually just go down path A to get the power-up so you can go down path B. But this is just a straight-up large backtrack through, like, 2 or 3 major areas. It's the only time the game really does that, too. Guacamelee 1, you backtracked a decent chunk, because you had to go around the main town several pathways and such. And you had to go through, like, 3 different pathways in the desert, especially, for Tool Tree, the second temple, and just progression in the desert itself. But in this game, they felt like they were more confident in how they wanted you to progress through the storyline, so this little sudden backtrack feels more out of place. Also, I'll take that health, though. Would you believe that that particular health up was one of the last items I got in my first playthrough? I don't know why I missed that, because the grappling hook beacons are so in your face, but I just did. I can't let you pass without the proper paperwork. This is a restricted area. We're dealing with a Code 04 large plant with bird emergency here. Where's your C7038 form and your 2 passport-sized photographs? Wait a minute, Alan. What do you mean by C7038? Do you mean the obsolete C7038A or the subsequent C7038C? What? I don't know. Then you're fired. C7038, see you later. Huh? No! Sorry, Juan. The quality of my employees has been shockingly poor lately. People just aren't dying to be bureaucrats like they used to. Juan, we have some open positions I'd like to fill. Let me know if you're interested in an interview after you've done saving the world. Sure thing, devil. You seem like a really chill guy. Barring the whole being the devil thing, of course. Hey, buddy, this hallway is under repairs. We can't let anyone through outside of our work hours, and we don't start until 11. You can try the elevator shaft if you want. It might go around. Ah, railroading. Well, if we have to, we have to. Why is the elevator shaft crooked? This is not how most elevators work, barring those in fantasy that are at an incline. Which, actually, no, some of those probably really exist in certain military installations now that I think about it. So you know what? This checks out. I just realized as well it's supposed to be the joke of the elevator. I am about a year and a half late to that joke, if not more. What the hell? Why did you punch me? Why are people always punching me? What, did someone ring the bell of awakening already? Can't I have a siesta in peace without being needlessly pummeled? Oh, thou art the chosen undead chicken? Well, la-di-da, Sir Luchador. Perhaps thou hadst better hasten thyself before Salvador ushers in the age of darkness. No, I do not have any gold. Also, seriously, you should probably get back to your mission. That Salvador Jordan has turned out to be a real jerk. Well, okay. You scare me, but I appreciate your straightforwardness. I don't know why, but whenever I think of this game, this is one of the sections I immediately think of, and I can think of one reason why we'll be going into in about 10 minutes, not even, but it's just a section I immediately think of. It's this one room during the end game, and the giant pun-making skeleton in the Jade Temple. I don't know why those are the three things I think of in this game, but they are. Mind you, I suppose every game has those things you immediately think of whenever you think of them. Like, for me, like, let's look at Yakuza. It's annoying-ass karaoke minigames. Not that the karaoke minigame itself is annoying, but doing it for Haruka's friendship maxing in Yakuza Kiwami 1 is annoying. Hey, Bob, you trying to get around the construction? Yeah, I think you gotta go that way. Yeah, over that giant pole of lava. Don't ask me how. Watch your toes. Thank you, sir. And then it's like the Majima everywhere stuff because no shit. And actually, I can't think of a third thing for Yakuza Kiwami 1 right now. I guess if anything, it would be the race car minigame I can't remember the name of right now for some reason. Can you tell I got a platinum in 3 Yakuza games and I'm probably going to start working on Judgment's platinum soon enough. Though I really don't want to because, God, I hate Mahjong. I understand it. It's just super tedious. This is perhaps one of the few combat lucha rooms in the game that really makes me think from time to time. I don't know why. Because it's one of the few that actively has you remember, oh yeah, I can attack enemies with shields still, I just won't do damage, and you need to do that with these particular chupacabras to bring them down to the ground, because otherwise your chicken slide's not going to hit them. I don't know why this takes me like a minute to remember every time I get here, but it does. I'd honestly recommend the Poyo shot for that the most, just because it's direct and it's fast. But Rooster Uppercut works too. These little baby chupacabras, though, are not very dangerous. They dive wherever that you were when they started their attack. But as you can see, they're great for one thing, and that is combo fodder. Because the upgraded special moves even have a higher combo count than the standard ones. So because of that, getting up to almost 320 hits in one combo is very easy to do. In the right situation, I should stress. And with that, time for another Chuzu statue. Hi, Juan. It's nice to meet you. I'm the Wei Chivo from the therapist timeline. How's the quest going? Want to discuss your emotional state? Why not? Alright, so how's this whole adventure thing striking you? Going okay? Concerned about the fate of the Mexiverse. I see. Understandable. And you must miss your family terribly with all this going on. That's true, saving all the timelines from obliteration is still kind of a way of taking care of them. But obviously you'd like to be there with them. Oh yeah, I can see it being kind of troubling meeting with the dead versions of you and Lupita. Yeah, they do seem like they're at peace now. They're doing well. Well, he's just a skull, and it's perfectly normal to get a little out of shape after starting a family. You can still pull off this getup for sure. Okay, I'm glad we had this chat. Now let me teach you wall fly. Press Y and away from a wall, and fly great distances. Something I'm not sure of is if that particular way Chivo gets more dialogue depending on your actions in the game. Like if you didn't destroy all the items at the... or all the Chooses statues in the dimension with all the Chooses statues and such. Because I don't think talking to Lupita and this dimension, this timeline's Juan, is required. But I've always done it, so I'm not sure if the dialogue completely changes or not. With that said, with the wall fly now, I'm going to immediately head back up the elevator shaft for two particular things. Start off, let's go for the hard one first. Oh boy. Oh, chosen one. I was just sitting in a spot when suddenly I got the feeling that a special key piece may be nearby. Are you feeling the same thing? Please be careful. It's filled with hazardous blah 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 blah. Okay. So you remember how in Guacamelee 1, the orb pieces slash mask pieces all had their own little gimmicks and side things you had to do to get to them? The special key pieces in this game, which are basically just this game's mask pieces, have the same thing, only the difficulty is dialed up to about an 11. This in particular, you cannot mess up on. If you let one of the exploders explode, you're dead. The first room is not too bad once you remember, oh yeah, I can wall fly, and that counts as a... I actually can't remember. The dash punch, I think is called in this one? I still kind of want to call it the dashing derp, but no, that's just Guacamelee 1's name for it. The big pain in the ass happens in this room when the precision gets tuned up to about a 40 out of 10. In my first playthrough, I was here for about 30 minutes because they require some real precision here. Thankfully, there's a checkpoint in that room before it, but let's just cut to my successful run because I was still here for about 5 minutes. Maybe. I actually forget how long I was here for. I could check the footage to see how long, but I'm lazy, and I don't want to do that. My biggest advice for these kind of sections is... obviously, like, be quick about it, but take your time and observe your surroundings correctly so you don't end up using the wrong ability at the wrong time. Because I think looking back, that was probably my biggest problem on my first playthrough here, was I was constantly rushing ahead in the wrong way, and I couldn't tell what I needed to use next. This is probably the one section that still screws me up. Just wall fly here. Don't try to dash punch through them. That won't work well for you at all. Also, the lava rising does end at a certain point. So you can just punch him into there. At least I think it stops. And with that, we got ourselves our first golden egg and our first special key piece. I think 4 to go, I want to say. I actually forget how many pieces there are. I think there's 5. That's one thing I think this game does a little bit better than Guacamelee 1. The items needed for the good ending, you can't find nearly as early. And while I know some people will say, I like being able to get them early, for a game like this, I feel like they should be hidden towards at least the latter third of the game, which we are in, so I think they're just better placed here. Plus, that means any difficulties that they might have within their little challenges are better suited to the point in the game you're at. With that said, let's fly over some lava. Screw gravity. Something I'm not sure about with the wall fly is if it counts the upgraded dash punch for it. Well, I'll tell you my secret guac ingredient. I will say this, however, up the ante on those chilies if you want to put a little pep in your step. Jalapeno, serrano, habanero, poblano, guajillo, pasilla. I like to throw them all in to ride the lightning. Speaking of which, can I give you a ride? No. Maybe next time, bud. See you later. See you too, Olmec. You're all pretty cool dudes. Though Olmecs are also one of my more minor complaints with both games. They're useful quick travel, don't get me wrong, but since there's only ever one per area, it always feels like you still have so much backtracking to do every time you find one. Unlike, say, certain Castlevania games, for instance, where they have warp rooms, usually only one per area, yeah, but some of the areas are so small that backtracking isn't as big of a deal. You can teleport to one in any given area in this game and have like a 40% chance or higher to be like directly in the middle of the area on the exact opposite side of where you want to be. Chosen one, hearing our plea you have come. Your bravery is unmatched. The bird who must not be named fled to these barrens with our precious golden egg. Make haste, only you can stop this menace before it destroys all we hold dear. Okay. Well, I guess it kind of tells who we're going to be fighting next, huh? This section irked me my first playthrough, and it still does now, but for different reasons. It's very much like a couple of the other dungeons in the game, like the Jade Temple or such, where it's built around a central shaft, but you're constantly moving left and right throughout it. We're going through a maze of other directions to head up. And once or twice doing that is fine, but by the third time you're doing that, even within the same section, it feels a little tedious. This section drags on, and I thought that in my first playthrough too. That says something, because my first playthrough this was mostly done between classes. Which, those can drag anyway. Stamina generating faster, thank God. No longer have to wait for that as much. This next little bonus I'm going for is another one that took me a while to find my first playthrough, because for some reason I didn't think to go across here. I don't know why. It just did. It even shows on the map. Because, again, I've complimented this back in Guacamelee 1, I think even earlier in this LP. Guacamelee has one of the best map systems in a Metroid-like. Because items that were even remotely on your screen get shown on the map. Places you haven't been on the map are faded if it's in a room, touches a room you've been to already, meaning you can easily tell that there's a place you could go that way. And in general, just a very readable map. Mind you, given the way maps in a lot of other Metroidvania types work, not all of them can do this because some of them go for the grid-based structure, and that you can't do that as easily in a game like that unless you do what, like, maybe the Castlevania games do, actually, to bring them up again, where if it's in a large room and you haven't explored a part of it, there's just a part of the grid that doesn't have a white outline. But that's like the closest thing I could think of that could do that for most games to mimic. Also, earlier this part, I got one of my favorite upgrades in the game that's not stamina recovery or gold multiplier. I forget which tree it's for, but it makes it so that you don't lose your combo meter until you've been hit 3 times. At least in terms of getting hit. You'll still lose it if enough time passes. And I like that just because, for someone as admittedly reckless in games like this as me, it just feels better to have that extra safety net. That's always been one of my problems in games, is that I can be really rushing and reckless even if I have all the time in the world. I don't know exactly how to explain it. The best way I've explained it to someone who knows about this stuff is that there's a reason I picked Dragoon in Final Fantasy XIV as my main class. I might taste the floor every couple of minutes, really, in certain boss fights, especially, God, E4. Eden for Sepulture is hell on me for some reason. But, damn it all, I can get the damage done. What do you mean I didn't know what the challenge log was until like 2 weeks ago when I've been playing the game for around 2 years, on and off? What do you mean I didn't have glamour set correctly? What do you mean I'm in general kind of an idiot sometimes? Man, hearing my friend that I play with say that, just be shocked over my lack of knowledge sometimes is funny. I wish I could say I was doing it on purpose, but I'm really not. If you're watching this, my friend, I am sorry. Alright. It's sections like this that I always get a little bit lost as to what direction I need to go in, because It's that whole mentality that a lot of games have where you get a fork and you go, okay, I'll go the wrong way first because there's something down it. But then you find out that the wrong way was actually the right way. You need to go down the other pathway because it's actually the wrong way. That was a really verbose way of saying that. But you get what I mean. Everyone's done it. It sucks. Don't swap again, by the way, because you might get stuck in the pattern like I did and get killed there. Oh, my first playthrough, at least. We are coming up on another one of my least favorite rooms in the game, though. Optional ones, at least, because there are a couple rooms, as I mentioned before, that I think of just getting stuck on my first playthrough, dying over and over again, having to start the Lucha room over and over again. I guess Lucha room's an optional thing. It's just like the key room we were in earlier. But without a doubt, one of the ones that sticks out in my mind the most is coming up in the next 2-3 minutes or so. And like with the other place, it has to do with exploders because, God, they gave them a nasty buff in this game. They're terrifying. It makes me wonder, though. I believe I conjectured this before in the LP, and if I did, I'm sorry, but the way I do games like this, sometimes I forget exactly what I've said just because videos can have such a big gap between them. If and when Guacamelee 3 does happen, how are they going to further expand on the formula that's already pretty well expanded into? Like, do you have the obvious things of maybe increasing the amount of Metroid elements, or Metroid-like tendencies, or even going the opposite way, making it more of a beat-em-up? Like that whole argument what Zelda should have done that died circa 2016 or so, if I recall correctly. But I'm still not exactly sure what I'd like to see out of a third game in this series. Just make sure you keep the music the same, because this soundtrack is so good. Most of it's not going to be something that gets stuck in my head, but while I'm listening to it, it's damn good stuff. I think what I like about Guacamelee 2 over Guacamelee 1, though, or at least one of the other things I like about it, is Guacamelee 1 had very solid platforming, but there's something about the platforming in Guacamelee 2 that just scratches that right itch in my brain all of the more completely. I don't know exactly what it is, though. Like, yeah, you have more abilities, and they're more designed around platforming, and there's more platforming challenges designed completely around the abilities in tandem with each other. But beyond that, I can't tell exactly what it is. I guess you could just chalk it up to the game being more refined than the first one due to learning from the first one. But I don't know. There's something about it. It is weird thinking about this game graphically, though, because this game was built on the PS4 for rendering, like I mentioned earlier, whereas the first game was built off the Vita for rendering, which is why this game got such a visual overhaul compared to the first one. But with the PS5 officially, like, coming out sometime next year, or this year now, technically, sorry, recording this at 11:56 p.m., so it's still technically 2019 for me. And the PS5 even having its first game revealed back at E3, that weird, like, I think it was like Norse-based game. What's that gonna do for 2D games? Because, well, yeah, you can really judge how powerful a console is just based off how much they can render at a time and the detail of it. My biggest thought whenever something like that happens is, what are they gonna be able to do with that in a 2D setting? Because these kind of games are always gonna age better graphically than 3D, just based off technology, really. There's a reason Mega Man 8 is one of the best looking games on the PS1 to this day. Alright, it's about time I get the multiplication and gold thing, because that's just going to make getting the rest of the abilities much faster. I guess now that I think about it, one thing I would like out of the next Guacamelee is maybe a bit more visual variety, even within the same area, because rooms in any given area can be very samey looking, just based off how the level designer works for this game by the looks, and I don't fault them too much for that. But each area looks like it's just the same textures, but under a different color. And while that's fine to an extent, I feel like that little bit of extra added variety would be nice. It's very much like Metroid 1 in that regard, I guess, where, yeah, the original game for the system looks great, but Zero Mission with its added variety looks better. Alright, this is the Lucha Room in question that I mentioned a few moments ago. I was stuck here for a while my first playthrough. I was still stuck here for a bit this playthrough, but for infinitely less time. You got a lot of exploders, surrounded by even more instant death. Hazards. Time your dimension swaps and wall flies carefully, and you should get through it fairly easily. But that is a mighty big should with an apostrophe, an asterisk saying you will still die here at least 5 times. I hate this room. I hate rooms like this in general, but it's over. Thank God. Let's go grab our money and get the hell out of Dodge. Now we're reaching the end of the part, but before I do my usual sign-off stuff, I want to wish you all a very happy new year and a good decade in general for the future. And to thank you guys for making this past decade so great. Yeah, this has been a hobby for me the entire time, but it's one I feel very fulfilled in just doing because I get to talk about the games I love to play so much. Yeah, we technically started in 2011, and because of that, we're not quite at 10 years yet, but the past 10 years all the same have been just fantastic games-wise for me and for the channel. So I really want to thank you guys for sticking around and to have a great new year and too many good years ahead of us. With that said, thank you guys for watching. Have a great night. Take care. And next time on Guacamelee 2, whenever it happens, we're going to be continuing on in Infernio and hopefully finding the bird who shall not be named and seeing what else we can do after that. See you guys then.